Good evening from Queen's Park. The Auditor General released her annual report today. Here it is, focusing mainly on Liberal spending. But this could also be the ammunition the Doug Ford government needs and wants to take control of Waterfront Toronto and control prime waterfront land for development. Waterfront Toronto is an agency which operates under provincial legislation. Its mandate is to revitalize 2,000 acres over 25 years. The report finds it was never given proper authority to do the job. And in its 16th year of its 25-year mandate, it's only developed some 55 acres, or 5% of the available land. The report also cautioned Waterfront Toronto for its agreement with Sidewalk Labs, a wired smart city, saying more government study is needed while raising concerns about privacy.
The governance of Waterfront should be looked at, and the authorities that they have should be looked at from this point going forward to determine what that should be, and whether or not they have the skill sets going forward as an organization as well.
Now, this gives Doug Ford's government a reason to take control over Waterfront Toronto, and sources tell me that that is what his government has been thinking of doing, and there is grave concern at Waterfront Toronto that that is what he is actually going to do. In fact, I'm told the PC government was toying with the idea of pulling millions in funding for the Portland's flood protection, which is vital to Waterfront Toronto's existence. Here's what the infrastructure minister had to say when I asked him about it earlier today.
Minister, are you going to blow up Waterfront Toronto?
We take the concerns that the Auditor General raised very seriously. We inherited a mess right across government. We heard that today after 15 years of Dalton McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne. But we're going to fix it. Specifically with Waterfront Toronto, I'm going to fix it. The report highlighted that the Board of Directors was given less than one weekend to review the sidewalk deal. We heard that Waterfront Toronto shared almost no information about the project with one of its overseers, the city. And lastly, we heard that 20% of all projects done at the waterfront were over budget. This is unacceptable.
Are you still going to honor the agreement with the flood protection? Because without that, the Portlands are doomed.
Look, we're going to be announcing decisive action in the next number of days on Waterfront Toronto.
The opposition says they're worried about what the Ford government has in store for Waterfront Toronto.
The last thing we need is Mr. Ford's political interference in what's happening at the waterfront, and that's something I'm quite concerned about, and I'm sure Torontonians are concerned about.
Now, Waterfront Toronto sent out a release shortly after saying it acknowledged the challenges it's had, and it is beginning to implement the recommendations in the AG report. I'm told to expect an announcement by this government in the next couple of days. Now, other findings in the report, the Auditor General found Metrolinx paid $237 million above the contract for the Eglinton Crosstown to ensure that it would be completed on time. And changing LRT planning decisions cost taxpayers an unnecessary almost $200 million that the Metrolinx will have to cover the cost for. And remember, the Ford government wants Metrolinx to take over control of building and of the subways in Toronto.